The last time I talked with this handsome fella, he had a Billie Eilish cutout behind him. He was wearing a black tie, and now it looks like what are you? Have you become a priest or something? I mean, what's going on behind you?
Oh no, this is just the void I live in, man. This is just my office. I don't like to do too much in here. Last time, Drew, I was going through a lot of stuff, man. So I was figuring out a lot of stuff in life, and now I'm honing in what it's all about and being a real family guy right now, Drew.
You are. You've always been a consummate family man, and of course, we got to give you a proper introduction. This is Shaun Cody. Played 8 years in the NFL, 4 of them with the Houston Texans. He played before that at University of Southern California. You were an All-American, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. In high school, I think one year you had 40 sacks or something. Like you destroyed you were all over.
My dad was doing the stats. It worked out well.
Dads are the best that way, aren't they? Yeah. And now we want to find out where you are. And before we started this interview a few moments ago, I just joked about, your spare background, your Spartan background, but you've got a fancier microphone than I do. Let's swing that thing around and show folks what's going on, man. What is this all about?
This was part of my gig this year with Zoom, Drew. It was everything was from your house. And so I did a lot of the stuff for USC. I'm doing the radio. I do the color commentary for the radio broadcast for the football team and for USC. And that was part of it. It was just being home and having all my equipment here and trying to keep the kids quiet in the background and do it from home. So that's what this year was like. It was live with Shaun Cody on Zoom.
I love it, man. How much fun was that? You got to, because you hadn't done color commentary before this year, really, had you?
No. It was my first opportunity really this year. I dabbled in the year before, but this year was my first time really kind of coming on and having a full season. Obviously a little bit different with COVID. We did some games from the Coliseum. We did some games from different areas. So it was definitely something to try to, it was a weird way to kind of cut your teeth, I guess, in the business, but it was definitely something I enjoyed and I hopefully can continue doing.
It's fun. How nervous did you get doing that beforehand and during?
I was super nervous, Drew, starting because you know me. I like to take it light and simple, and it's usually have a good time with things. And when I watch games and I listen to the analysts, and you know when they're not informed about stuff, and when they're kind of just winging it. And I didn't want to be that guy, so I really jumped into it, tried to do as much homework as I could. About the other teams and about USC and really dive into it. So it was a lot of homework, and that with all that work, I think it makes you kind of, when the game finally got there, I was like, oh man, I'm feeling nerves again. I got nervous doing it. So it only took maybe a half to trying to get into it and get used to it. But once it started to come in, it felt pretty natural.
That's good. And that doesn't surprise me that you got nervous because you care. It means you care. And I know you did care about playing well. You did care when we did the videos with On the Nose.
I just like to pretend that I don't care. I really, I go home and I cry a lot and all my stuff behind the scenes. But when it's game time, man, I care.
Naturally. Yeah. That doesn't surprise. I'm glad to hear that's happening. So you do the color commentary now for USC radio, but that's not all you do. What else is going on in life?
Well, Drew, I'm a fantastic girl dad, and so I do a lot of fathering for my children. And I'm actually, Drew, this is you're breaking news here.
Okay.
I've been working on me and my brother have been working on a concept for a restaurant here in Los Angeles for about I graduated from a restaurant management course here in Los Angeles the last 2-3 months ago. And so we've been working on a concept, trying to figure something out, doing a restaurant and putting a business plan together for that and some recipes. So it's quite exciting right now.
That's awesome. That leads me perfectly into one of my questions I was going to ask, because the last time you and I did this, it was kind of about a month into the pandemic. And you had talked about how you were close to, or had just finished, or were just starting. I can't remember, and pardon me here, but you had started on culinary school. And I was going to say, what's been the latest with that? But obviously you segued into restaurant management, which is, I was a waiter for 2 years and I know how hard that was. And I saw how hard a restaurant manager's job was. So I can't imagine the stuff you got to learn and go through with that. What's that whole process been like? That's fascinating to me.
Originally I wanted maybe I was thinking about being a chef. And then, as I got along in that process, I thought, maybe a lot of time involved with that. So I thought maybe, owning something or trying to manage something might be suit me better. So I decided to go that route. And really, I dived in with a class, a 7-month class, just learning how to, manage a restaurant, learning everything from, doing business plans to writing pro formas, really businessy stuff, and then design and a lot of different elements to that. So it was super exciting to do it. And I really, kind of been passionate about it. That's why I'm teaming up with my brother, who's really more kind of into the culinary side and chefy side. So I think it's a good match between us, and we can hopefully bring something cool to the table and some good for our area.
That's awesome. How far out do you think it's from opening?
Well, we're going to start some tastings pretty soon. So with, friends and hopefully investors that we're going to start doing. So that's probably a month out. Maybe I'm looking maybe 6 months out. Hopefully we'll, have some, obviously looking for locations right now and trying to find the right spot, what makes sense. So hopefully it's 6 months. So again, the world's starting to get going. The economy is starting to get going again. So hopefully I can jump on that train and see how that goes.
Well, you're a smart guy, so you've probably already done this, but if you haven't, I'm going to sign him up for it. But if you need Houston representation as far as marketing PR, Nick Scurfield is your huckleberry there. So he'll do it. I'll say he'll do it pro bono.
I've already reached out to young Nicholas about doing this. He's excited. So hopefully he can venture out here to Los Angeles and help me put together my PR strategy.
I love it. That's good. I want full documentation of that via social media, because why else would you not? So with the restaurant and being a family man and the radio successes, how has that affected your beekeeping? Because you gotten into beekeeping early on in the pandemic. Well, maybe even before that too.
Well, Drew, I hate to announce this, but it was a terrible tragedy my first year of beekeeping. Obviously, I put together my best efforts. I read my books. I did my background, my knowledge. But the first year just didn't end. It just didn't work out for us. It started out wrong too. When I got the bees in my back of my truck, and we're taking off. And this isn't in the closed suburban, so I'm taking off, and the bees fell over, and it was a bee tornado in my car. So I lost about half my bees. I ended up getting them to home, but it started off on the wrong foot. So this year we got locked in. No bees slipped into the car. We got them all to the home. So the queen is doing her thing right now, and it looks like it could be a nice harvest for that honey, Drew. So it's going to be a good season. Maybe I'll get you some Shaun Cody honey.
I'd love some of that. You didn't give up, man. You faced adversity, you tackled it, and you've just persevered. I think that's awesome. I mean, you've texted me pictures of you and your beekeeper regalia, and I think it's fantastic. I don't know how you got into it. Like, what prompted you to want to do bee? Because don't you have like chickens and stuff too? Or
yeah, well, I've started to become like a little homesteader here at the house. So I started with a little garden, and
right.
then I started, and I was like, well, if you're gonna have a garden, maybe you can have some chickens. So then chickens, and then, well, if you have a garden, you kind of need bees. And so it just kind of all tied in together. And I just started biting off more than I can chew, and then. So it's quite the little process here. We get the eggs every morning. We go check on the bees. We, tend to the garden. So it's quite a little homestead, but it's like I said, it's not without lessons learned and trying to figure out how to keep pests and coyotes away. So it's definitely a entertaining thing to do with the kids.
Coyotes, man. Yeah, I know about that. I saw the movie Collateral, so I know about coyotes in Los Angeles, Okay, we got a few questions we got to knock out here as far as like official stuff. So you grew up in Southern California, you play your college ball there, drafted by the Lions, you spent 4 years there. When you come to Houston, what was your first memorable training camp practice experience? Because it's a little bit hotter than those other places where you were previously.
Well, my first memorable training camp experience with the heat you're talking about. Yeah, it was unlike anything I had felt before as far as, training weather. I got there and coming from Detroit and coming from Southern California, going to Detroit and experiencing cold weather for the first time really. And that kind of being shocking, but then feeling the South and how humid it could get down there. It was quite shocking. And I remember sitting in training camp and guys getting IV fluid, like after practice, and guys losing 8 to 10 pounds of practice and just being like, whoa, what is going on here? This is crazy. So it was definitely that experience of just, and you're walking around in your shoes on a football field, and when the humidity is like that, it's just like soggy feet all the time. And
Yeah.
I just remember that noise of everybody running around and with their squishy feet. Like when you go from drill to drill with squishy feet and be like, oh man, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Like the bubbling up of the sweat, the shoes they've shown that on Hard Knocks from time to time.
Oh yeah. Just squishy feet, man. That was my worst thing. And then you have to air out your shoes after practice it was a tremendous smell in the locker room, but we made it through. I think it made us tougher for it, Drew.
Yeah. You probably wouldn't have, if you hadn't gone through that, it's safe to say with the bees tipping over, you would have just like opened your thing and let them all fly away and you would have been a beekeeper, right?
Yeah. I just probably would have left. That's it.
Okay. So 2009, your first year with the Texans, week one, you guys lose a tough one at home to the Jets, but you go on the road in week two. Texans beat the Titans, and you played a nice game. Dan Orlovsky didn't play at all. Andre Johnson had, I think, like 180 yards receiving. He had a few touchdowns. He was a monster. Jeff Skanina fell on the fumble at the end to kind of ice the game. Yet they give the game ball, or Gary Kubiak gives the game ball to you and to Dan Orlovsky. Why?
I don't know why. Maybe it was our first win.
Am I misremembering things? Didn't you get a game ball?
You know more than I do. I don't remember. If we got a game ball, I'm sure it's because it was our first win with the Texans. Maybe.
Damn it, Cody! I set you up and you couldn't.
Do you know why?
I seem to think, and I seem to recall. Maybe I'm totally missing this, but I thought he gave you guys the game ball because y'all had gone 0-16 the year before.
Oh,
Detroit. That's
right?
What
you're trying to bring up? 0-16 memories, Drew? Thanks.
No, I'm saying like you had a good memory with us,
No, yeah. I remember the game and how awesome it was. I remember, maybe I was just celebrating too hard to remember even the game ball, but yeah. Weird that, Dan Orlovsky didn't play and got a game ball. I'm sure a lot of guys in the team were excited about that, giving us a game ball for the performance they had. I'm sure Jeff Skanina let me know that he won the game and he didn't get a game ball.
That was an awesome game. I mean, there was fist fights. It was back and forth. I mean, that
was my first experience with that rivalry. And I remember, man, this is serious stuff here, man. That was quite a rivalry. Because in Detroit, we had rivalries, but they used to beat us up. So we were never in the games. So this rivalry, this was my first introduction, and it was a hell of a game to be a part of.
Yeah. Were your college rivalries a little fiercer than what you experienced in the NFL, or was it same?
I don't know if anything was more fierce than that Titans rivalry, man. That was a pretty intense deal there, especially, with Andre got into it, and we had some back and forth. I remember I got fined one year. I think there was something on the side of the bench, and you could see me in the camera. I was on the bench and I was just fooling around kind of, but the fight kind of starts on the sideline and I kind of jump in with like a pretend swing and I got fined for that. I got fined $5,000 for that. I remember thinking, man, I was just fooling around, but you could see me on camera. It looked like I jumped in like swing. So I got $5,000 fine. Remember, man, I'm not, no more fooling around on the bench for me, Drew.
So speaking of Gary Kubiak, giving the game ball, what were your experiences like with him? What do you think of him as a coach?
Drew, I can't say high enough words about Gary Kubiak. When one of my favorite coaches I ever played for. Just the ability to have the connection with the players that he had, and still implement discipline, and still, you'd still be worried around Gary if you did something wrong, because he could install discipline in you, but also when you needed something, when it was off the field or whether it was on the field, and you could always go and talk to him. That relationship he had with you was always very personal, and he always felt very connected to you. It's amazing to have that, and I'm sure you talk to any player who's ever played with him, they have that same experience with him. And when you can touch that many lives at the same time and still feel connected, you're a pretty special dude. And I always look back, in that relationship with him. I can still send him a text and ask him how he's doing, and he's doing great. So it's always he was a fantastic coach to play for, and only probably a better man to even know.
Yeah, no doubt. And shameless plug here, we're going to have a really fun video coming out about Coach Kubiak here in the next week or so. We went to visit him at his ranch just northwest of Houston, and he's doing really well. We got some really fun interviews, some fun footage. So I know you're going to be locked in for that. But, in 2011,
I was very excited, Drew, when I saw that. When I saw that picture of you, I was very excited when you guys sent that picture over. Man, that couldn't fire me up more. I need to get out to hang out with Gary for a little bit.
He'd love that, man. He's got like a lake you could fish in. He's got a little party house. Lots of heck. You could probably mow fields on a tractor if you want, because you've got that farmer aspect of you. So
Bees. I can start his bees for him.
do it. I think I see a union, a partnership coming up. So 2 years into your career with the Texans get a new defensive coordinator in Wade Phillips. Sort of a similar type of relationship with Kubiak, I guess, but there were differences. I know you got fond memories of playing for Wade. What was that like?
I mean, it was like playing for a stand-up comedian at times. Obviously, Coach Phillips, you knew he know his stuff. He played, for the amount of time he did it, he knew his stuff, and he knew his stuff, and he'd let you know that he knew his stuff. And the confidence that he exuded as a coach was tremendous, and it made you only feel more confident as a player, because you felt like you knew what you were doing at all times, and it was the best the scheme that was running. He told you that. But not only that, but like you said, his personality, his flair for meetings, kept it interesting every day, kept a guy like me like entertained and locked in every day, because you didn't know what Wade would come up with and what Wade would say that day. And so he always kept it light, but you always felt like you were in the best spot to make plays or best position. And we always felt like we were the best defense on earth. Even if sometimes we didn't have a good game, he'd still come in and say, man, you guys did some amazing things. So it was, you always felt confident. You always felt inspired around him. And it was just so much fun to be around.
That's pretty cool to hear. I didn't realize some of that. It's always fun stuff. So last Texans teammate you talked with or texted with, who was it?
I texted with, we have a group thread, a couple guys on a group that I texted him this morning, actually, about, I don't remember what it was about. I don't know. I wake up and I have some crazy thought, and then I text it off to those guys, and then we have like a daily discussion about it. So it's kind of a thing, but usually it's Connor Barwin, he's on there, Brian Cushing, Tim Bullman. How about some Tim Bullman action?
Sure.
Daryl Sharpton. He's always good for a good nugget. He's
furniture maker now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, just killing it. Edlo Finch, shout out, right? Edlo Finch. And who else is on there? Jesse Nading.
Oh yeah. What's he doing?
Antonio Smith will drop a jewel every now and then. So I mean, it's a good thread. So I play around with him most of the time. And this morning we had some good stuff going. So I always get a good laugh from those guys.
Yeah, it's a good cast of characters to be keeping in touch with. I love to hear that. So what's daily life like for you off season versus football season now? I know it's still, there are differences, aren't there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, football season, it's I'm going to practice, a lot of interviews to do now. You know that, Drew. It's trying to find guys that do interviews, talk players into, come on, man, do an interview with me. And then doing my research, watching film. And then the weekends are, taken up with football stuff. So a lot busier during the season. And off season, I get a little more chance to be with the girls and I take the girls to school in the morning and right now they're doing acting class. So we're doing a camp right now. So I drop them off at school. Then right now we're working on a recipe design with my brother. So he comes over and we cook all day, and then make sure that the chickens have food and the bees are maintained. And that's kind of the summer routine or off-season routine for me.
You got him in acting classes. I love that. That's perfect for where you are and who you are. Any swim team? Because I don't know if everyone knows this, but you were a hell of a swimmer growing up. What's the deal with swim team and your kiddos?
My kids have zero athletic ability, Drew.
Really?
That's why they're doing acting class. They're in dance and they're in acting class. You got
to be athletic if you're a dancer.
We are in touch with our artistic side in this family. We don't. My daughters. I'm playing around, Drew. They play volleyball. My daughter plays volleyball. The little ones play softball. So it's they have fun with sports, but. Yeah, it's acting is fun for them, man. They really enjoy it. They really seem to have picked up from that. I don't know where they got it from, but they enjoy being in front of the camera.
Now, are we going to see you doing any acting? Because I know you've kind of dabbled in the past, right? Come on.
I tried. After I was done playing, I did some auditions and some commercial stuff, but they definitely told me maybe I should stick to radio with this face.
False. I'm not going to say the movie because I don't want to spread bad news about other people, but you told me about the role you auditioned for, and then a year or two later, I actually saw the movie that came out, and I saw the dude who got your role that you had. There's no way that guy was better than what you could have done. I'm just gonna say that.
I got caught in Hollywood politics, Drew. I got caught in the politics, man.
Yes. If anyone watching or listening to this wants to find out the truth, I'll tell you off camera, off air. But just trust me, Shaun Cody would have killed that role more than whoever.
What could have been? What could have been?
Could have been. Could have been. Well, hey, we got to wrap things up because you and I could go all day. But what's like one thing you want everybody back here in Houston, or just Texans fans in general around the world? What's something you want them to know about you, how you're doing these days, or what you remember from your time with the team?
Well, Drew, if there's anything I could say to the Houston community, it would be that, I loved that experience in my life. Those 4 years were probably some of the, funnest and happiest times in my life, with football, with friendship, with, meeting people in the area. Those 4 years in Houston really gave me a much better taste in my mouth from NFL experience. I was in Detroit, and I just, 4 years in Detroit really had worn on me, on the big fella, man. I didn't know how I felt about football anymore. I kind of up in the air. And then getting that chance to go to Houston and experiencing a culture of football that Gary Kubiak created, that the McNairs created, was a special time in my life. And the things we did as a team, we were able to do, obviously you would have wanted to take it far and win a Super Bowl, but I was very proud of the teams we had there and what we were able to accomplish, and the relationships I still have with the guys there. So it's a really a fun 4 years of my life. I look back with fond memories, and I have still relationships from those times. And I love the area too. Houston was great to me and my family, and they were, really, I always brag about that time of my life when I was there, because I always tell Houston's a fun town. I always look forward to going back and checking out the city.
Love to hear it. And you should brag about that time. It was fun times. I mean, Texans were a winning team 3 of those 4 years you were there. That never happened before then. So that's really cool. And one last thing, we were recently at a going away party for, I think you probably remember her, Emily Bruce, now Emily Fonseca. She just moved to Brazil with her husband. He's a Brazilian national. About a month ago, we had the going away. And Connie Alvarez, you remember Connie from HR, she was there, and we were chit-chatting about you, and she reminded me of the time you and Connor came up into the offices with the mariachi band, and we had fun. But she also said this, and I remember this too. So back like 10 years ago, it wasn't as far as paychecks and sometimes benefits, it was a lot less electronically centralized, I guess is the best way to say it. So there were times when you guys would have to come up into the offices and have a question or two. Hey, what do I do? So it was sort of a common occurrence to see, a big dude walking through the office that didn't kind of look like, they belonged. But when you came through, you would tend to stop at every office and just chit chat with people, whether you knew them well or not. And that was always one of the fun things about you. You would talk to Connie Alvarez and HR. I mean, not everybody does that, and not everybody should do that, but it was just one of those things that sort of, I think, endeared you to the office, which was really fun to see. And you always had a fun joke to crack when you were up here and made things fun. You sat down in my chair a time or two and we shot the bull.
I was trying to get away from Bill Kohler, my defensive line coach, probably. No, Drew. I mean, I loved, like I said, the whole atmosphere that the McNairs created there, and Coach Kubiak created was one of family. And I used to love coming up there and chatting with everybody and hanging out and doing that such. But it was a fun time, and I really missed being out there in Houston, and I can't wait to get back out there.
There's only one Shaun Cody. He's America's beekeeper. He's the people's nose tackle. He's Southern California's restaurateur. We love you, man. We hope you're doing great, and can't wait to see you again soon. Best of luck with all the stuff you're doing, man. As a dad, the restaurant business, USC football. We really do appreciate you taking some time for us.
Thank you, Drew, as always. You're the man.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.